Live on DSTV, channel 421, GoTV 144. This is Joy News Prime. With me, Ernest Mino. Our headlines this hour. Minority in Parliament challenges decision of Speaker of Parliament to refer 3 NPP MPs to the Privileges Committee for absenting themselves for 15 consecutive days without permission.
Minority Chief Whip, read the standing orders again.
Mr. Speaker, I have read what I want to read and have stopped where I want to stop.
Honorable member,
you listen to me, and when you hear me,
will you
Mr.
resume
Speaker,
your
you have
seat?
to hear me first.
We'll hear from them, the majority and former MP Ras Mubarak, who petitioned the Speaker on this issue. Also coming up here on Joy News Prime, Asin North MP James Jache-Kwesen to know his fate in Parliament as the Supreme Court set April 13 to determine whether he can continue to perform legislative duties. GES says it placed approximately 88% of JHS graduates in various second cycle institutions so far.
Overall, there were about 570,000 students that were to be placed. And as we speak now, about 505,000 of them have been placed.
We have more plus details of how government plans to revert to the old academic system and also eliminate the double-track system with a transitional calendar.
The arrangement that we've done, if we continue as it is now, then hopefully by 2024, we'll have all our schools going Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, as it has always been.
At 8 p.m., I'll hand over to Charles for Prime Business. Charles, what's happening?
Well, tonight, the state-owned enterprises are recording a massive loss of 2.6 billion Ghana cedis in 2021 alone. The finance minister is absolutely concerned about this abysmal performance. He's calling for an aggressive reform to reverse this trend.
Charles will bring you details, and at 8:30 p.m., Oreku has the latest in sports.
Well, President Akufo-Addo is confident Ghana would excel at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar.
I think they'll perform well. The new coach of Ghana has done a good job, especially in mobilizing some of the younger, if you like, unknown, quote, untried players, but clearly gifted and talented.
Details coming up shortly. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Stay tuned in. Hello again, many thanks for choosing us. Now, a decision by the Speaker of Parliament to refer 3 MPs, NPP MPs, to the Privileges Committee for absenting themselves for 15 consecutive sittings without permission has drawn the opposition of the minority, who was set to challenge the referral of the Speaker. The 3 MPs, that's Domeko Abnya MP Sarah Joasafo, Asin Central MP Kennedy Japon, and Ayawaso Central MP Henry Korte, will lose their seats if they do not provide a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges, who have 2 weeks after Easter to present their report. Now, we'll hear from the Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak shortly, who says his side will challenge the referral. But first, listen to the Speaker, Alban Badbin, on the floor today.
The first is Honorable Sarah Ajua Safo. The second is Honorable Henry Korte. And the third is Honorable Kennedy Ohene Ajapon. Consequently, as is my understanding of the provisions of Article 97(1)(c) and Order 16(1) of the Standing Orders of Parliament, and the decision of the Court of Appeal in the case of Professor Stephen Kweku Asare and the Attorney General and 3 others, I hereby refer the said honorable members to the Committee of Privileges for consideration and report to the House. Since today is the last sitting day of the meeting, I refer it to the committee, and I expect that the committee will submit its report 2 weeks after the House reconvenes.
We can now hear from the floor of Parliament what transpired between the Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak and the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Badbin, when Muntaka faulted the decision of the Speaker.
Your statement, your statement is rightly placed on our rules. Mr. Speaker, where we disagree with you is your conclusion. Mr. Speaker, I want to make reference.
What did you say? Where we disagree with
Where
you?
I disagree with you is your conclusion. Mr. Speaker, and I make reference to our Standing Order 76. And with your permission, I read. 76.1. Every application to Parliament shall, and I think the word there is shall, be in the form of a petition. And every petition must be presented by a member of Parliament, who shall be responsible for the observance of the rules contained in Appendix A. Mr. Speaker, I heard you said, you yourself alluded to the fact that members of Parliament could raise matter that could be referred to privileges, and civil society could equally do same. Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect to your office, I disagree with you vehemently when you, Mr. Speaker, want to do that yourself. Because it has to be a member of Parliament who has to do that according to our rules. And Mr. Speaker,
Honourable Member, read the standing order again.
Mr. Speaker, we'll be grateful to listen to
Read the standing order again.
Mr. Speaker, it will be good to listen to me. When I'm done, you have the privilege to make your
Minority
ruling.
Chief Whip,
Mr. Speaker, you have to first
read the standing orders again.
Mr. Speaker, I have read what I want to read, and I've stopped where I want to stop.
Honourable Member,
fair you listen to me, and when you hear me,
will you
Mr.
resume
Speaker,
your
you have to
seat?
hear me first.
Will you resume your seat?
Mr. Speaker, you have to hear me first.
Will you resume your seat?
Mr. Speaker, we heard you in silence. Please, no, leader, no. Mr. Speaker, we heard you in silence. Mr. Speaker, it is only fair that you hear us, and when we are done, after the ruling and the decision to be taken, Mr. Speaker, is absolutely yours. But to listen to us, Mr. Speaker, you must listen to us. And Mr. Speaker, when you are making reference to the ruling of the appeals court, Mr. Speaker, the interesting thing that you left out, and I draw your attention to this, is that when that appeals court made that ruling, it concluded with this. After the court has said that the seat will be declared automatically, it went ahead to say that under the 1992 Constitution, however, it is the High Court which can declare a member of Parliament's seats as vacant, without providing any reasons or legal basis for the assertion. More particularly, when the provisions in question do not either explicitly or impliedly rope in the High Court. This is what the appeals court did. So, Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect, we agree you made a statement, but your conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the danger, colleagues, as we sit in this chamber, is this. If we allow speakers to take petition from outsiders, and so motu with petition from outsiders to refer members of Parliament to privileges, colleagues, will be doing ourselves the greatest disservice. Because we will one day get a dictator speaker who will simply take statements from outsiders and begin to penalize individual members of Parliament. It is on this basis that I call on all of us that to resist the attempt by Mr. Speaker to refer our colleagues to the privileges. And if there is justification, let us get one of us as member of Parliament who is convinced that our colleagues need to go through privileges to do that and not to allow Speaker to do this. Because today, we may have a Speaker that we may think will be unbiased. If we allow this to stand, it will become precedent, and tomorrow it may hurt each and every one of us. And it is on that basis that I stand to say, Mr. Speaker, I want to come properly under Order 93.5 to say this is your decision to refer our colleagues to the privileges will be challenged with a substantive motion. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Meanwhile, speaking exclusively in an interview for PM Express here on the Joy News channel later tonight, Minority Chief Ras Mubarak said it appears Sarah Adwoa-Safo of Dome-Kwabena is being targeted by this referral.
My belief is that what if it's not a grand scheme, it is for the leader to get his whip to now recommend at least the one that she has sent to Speaker so that they'll be recorded. But deliberately, they kept marking her absent. Now, the reason she gave, is it tenable? I mean, everybody in the way he looks at it. I sitting here, I put my family above everything. If I have a sick child, in seeking health care for my child, I'll put that as a priority to any other thing. If my mother is sick, I'll put that as a priority to any other thing. So you may disagree because maybe in your case, you have your grandmother staying with you who can take care of the kids. Therefore, if your children are sick, there's somebody to take care of them. In my case, it's me and my wife, and I will have to prioritize that because their health care will be very, very important. She's talking about her children. And if she's not careful, social welfare in America will seize these children.
Did she say that in the application?
Yes. We cannot pretend to say that that's not a serious thing. We can't.
But
is she overstretching this? I know because of the numbers and the difficulty that we find ourselves. This has never been an issue. Evans, I'm one who had constantly raised on our floor of Parliament about absenteeism. You remember before the 2020 election when an attempt was about to increase constituency. I just said, it's not important. Don't add constituency because, look, the 275 that you have, I can't even put my hand on good 100 that are doing the work. I've said all this thing before. So I'm not just defending unnecessarily. You and I know that for the first time, Kennedy Japan, he was also sick.
Yeah.
He had to go through a lot of procedure. You know, a lot of members in this house sometimes take things for granted because of our past. In the past, because of the numbers were good on the majority side. I mean, when I was the majority, we were 150. 154 and they were 120.
I mean, this has never happened before with the numbers disclosed.
The last time, they were 169, we were 106. So, people don't take this thing. Now the number is sad that every whip is looking, every number matters. And you are doing everything to make sure that those things are properly placed. Who doesn't know that Henry Kweti was not also well?
Yeah,
we are challenging.
So you're coming by motion?
Yeah, substantive motion.
Okay, but you say you're rising. So
we are rising. So when the motion got to this office before we rise, that motion will have to be considered.
But the petition was filed by Ras Mubarak, and Ras Mubarak is an NDC person.
Ras Mubarak is outside Parliament, and Ras Mubarak is a former NDC. As a member of Parliament, if he really wanted this done, he knows what to do, because he won't get any NDC member to canvass this for him.
Why?
Why will we?
But it goes back to the point. You are going to gain 3 seats over them.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they'll lose 3, which is your gain.
Wait, you think that, I mean, Ajosafos constituency is going to be an easy way?
A full interview airs at 9 p.m. here on the Joy News channel. But the majority side sees nothing wrong with this referral. Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu instead raises issue with the Privileges Committee's report coming to the floor of the House for a debate and a vote. He wants the decision of the committee to be final.
Speaker, so for you to say that when the determination has been made by the Committee of Privileges, it should come here for voting with the greatest respect, I disagree. That is not the intendment of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I'm fortified by the imperatives of Article 1771, 1125. And, of course, the one that you have I just quoted, 106.13. Speaker, that really should be what should commend itself to us. But we are all learning. We have heard you. The only disagreement that I have, Mr. Speaker, is submitting the report to Parliament for Parliament to vote on. That is not the intention of the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Ras Mubarak is former MP for Kumbungu and he joins us via Zoom. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Joy News Prime. So you petitioned the Speaker on 4 MPs. 3 of them have been referred to the Privileges Committee. Your reaction to this?
Well, I must, first of all, good evening to viewers. I must commend the Speaker of Parliament for the wisdom in bringing this to the floor of Parliament and for referring it to the Privileges Committee. I think we should all be guided by the Constitution and we should all be citizens. There is nothing in the Constitution or the standing orders of Parliament that says an ordinary member of the public cannot submit a petition to Parliament for consideration. So I feel excited that the Speaker has taken steps to redeem somehow the image of Parliament, which is sunken. But there's no institution in Ghana, public or private, that would tolerate its members not, attending upon their work without justifiable, excuse. My disappointment, Ernest, I'm struggling to see the wisdom in the minority side deciding to challenge the Speaker's ruling. In the minority side, spirited attempt to defend Sarah Joseph and the question
well, you had the minority chief whip. He says, even though you're outside Parliament, you are a former MP and you know how to come properly if you indeed want to have this. You disagree with him?
No, there is nothing in the standing orders that say a member of the public, ought to submit a petition to a member of Parliament for onward transmittal to the Speaker of Parliament. Any Ghanaian who feels hard done by, who's unhappy about breaches of our Constitution has every right, to write to the Speaker directly, raising concerns about constitutional breaches relating to Parliament, and I disagree with him, and I'm utterly disappointed in the leadership of the majority, to take the route that they have taken. I am of the view that it is not in the public interest, and I'm struggling to understand, what business the minority leader and the chief whip have in defending Sarah Joseph. These are three members of the MPP who have breached the rules of the House, who have violated the Constitution. And fundamentally, Ernest, the whip talks about the fact that a member of Parliament ought to be the one presenting the petition. And you ask yourself, what have they been doing all this while? Sleeping on the job? You have breaches of the Constitution. It's been 3 months, no action, simply because you have a system in Parliament of I scratch your back, you scratch my back, for which reason, people have to put a spirited defense of, one of their friends. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable and quite shocking.
What do you make of his defense that this opens the floodgates for all forms of petition in an era where you may have a speaker who will be simply autocratic and, of course, one-sided, very partisan, and would use that as a tool to hunt individual members of Parliament?
Well, that argument falls, flat. It's a very weak argument because you're making a point assuming that members of a privileges committee would have no minds of their own, to do the right thing in the best interest of God and in the best interest of country. An issue could be referred to the privileges committee to use its own argument, but MPs could decide otherwise. Mm-hmm. What I also find completely unacceptable is the prejudice of the work of the privileges committee by the whip. You heard him say that no member of the minority would, support such a move, at the privileges committee. It would be very, very unfortunate. It would feed into mistrust in Parliament on the minority benches that, look, they seem to be playing ball in Parliament. And I think the NDC as a political party ought to look at this seriously, and members of the NDC would have to take great exception, to these kinds of posturing, where, imagine, for instance, if it were the NDC that were caught in a situation like this, you think seriously the MPP, would be out there, trying to argue against a petition like that against members of the NDC? And so whose interest are they serving? If they are serving their own interest, then in the interest of their friends, they ought to let us know.
This has been referred. He says he will challenge it. We'll see how he does that with a motion. We'll follow up closely on that. But barring any, change, the committee is expected to present its report after the Easter break. Your expectation?
It is my fervent prayer, Ernest, and my hope that the fear of God and the love of country would prevail in a matter like this, where, people seem to have been completely out of touch with the reality. Ghanaians are expectant. Nobody wants to put up with a situation where MPs are absenting themselves. Now is a golden opportunity, a unique opportunity to deal with MPs who have decided not to play by the rules. And as this is not the first time this has happened, it's happened previously in other parliaments where attempts to even get this far had been had not been successful. So you would think that a move like this would be embraced wholeheartedly. But if you listen to the argument of the minority whip, there seems to be an attempt to protect MPs, than to protect the best interest of the public. And I think that is completely unacceptable.
Well, let's see how this pans out. I'm grateful that you could join us. That's Ras Mubarak, former MP for Kumbungu. And Kofi Eje of our research desk joins me in the studio with some more information on the records and proceedings of Parliament as far as these three MPs are concerned, and generally how our MPs are faring as far as attending to the duty of Parliament has been. Kofi, what have you discovered so far?
Right, so Ernest, this data was gleaned from Parliament's own votes and proceedings. So let's start off with Honorable Kennedy Ejapon. So we are looking at October to December 2021 meeting. Okay. That's probably the last meeting of last year. So let's look at this meeting. So there were 28 sittings, and Honorable Kennedy Ejapon was present in 4 out of 28.
Okay.
Absent without permission in 24 out of the 28 sittings. And then he was also, his longest consecutive absence without permission was 19 sittings. And
that's between the period of October 26 to December.
Exactly.
To November 25 of last year.
Exactly. And then we are also looking at this period of the sitting, that's October to December 2021.
Okay.
So now let's also focus on Sarah Adjoa Safo. She was present in 2 out of 28 sittings. Absent with permission, 7 out of 28 sittings. Absent without permission, 19 out of 28, sittings. And her longest consecutive absence in this period, was 13 sittings. Right. And so this is less than what we saw for Honorable Kennedy Ejapon, whose own was 19. Sarah Adjoa Safo's own was 13. And this spans from October 26th to November 16th.
Okay.
Now, also we have data for Honorable, Henry Korte. He was present in 5 out of 28 sittings. 5 out of 28. Okay. And absent without permission in 23 out of 28 sittings. And his longest consecutive absence, which is equal to that of Honorable Kennedy Ejapon, is 19 sittings. Okay. And this also spans from October 26th to November 25th, the same period for Honorable Kennedy Ejapon. Now, if we should shift from October to November last year and focus on January to March this year, we also have data. So let's start with Kennedy Ejapon. He was present, this period he improved. He was present in 12 out of 28 sittings as far as this period is concerned, and absent in 16 out of 28 sittings. His longest consecutive absence without permission was 4 sittings. And this, the time frame is indicated here. Sarah Adjoa Safo, and this is where the whole,
the controversy
exactly,
is.
the controversy.
And of course, we know there'll be a huge challenge when this comes to the privileges committee if the motion doesn't.
Yeah. So within this period, she was not present in either of the 28 meetings that was held in this period, and the longest consecutive absence, obviously, is 28 sittings. Within this period under review. And Henry Korte was present in 3 out of 28 sittings, absent in 25 out of the 28 sittings. So it means that in this case, either absent with permission or absent without permission, but his longest consecutive absence without permission was 12 sittings. And this is less than the 15 or 16 consecutive sittings spelled out by the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so we've also been looking at general, absenteeism in Parliament. So just look at the trend, Ernest. So right from February 15th this year to March 18th, we tracked this from Parliament's own votes and proceedings document, and then you could see the rising trend, where the highest was on 10th March. We had 157 MPs being absent out of the 275 MPs. And then the last time we checked was on the 18th of March, where we had 140 MPs being absent. We also looked at MPs who were absent with permission.
Okay, with permission.
Absent with permission. Absent with permission. So we looked at from 1 to 31 as of March 4th, and then we also had as of 18th March 27 MPs absenting themselves with permission. So NS, that's what we have for you as far as absenteeism.
And we're always grateful that you're able to put figures to the stories that we bring to you. Now let's go to the Supreme Court, because the Apex Court has set April 13 to deliver its ruling on whether the Assin North MP, James Jachikwesin, should be stopped from performing parliamentary duties. The Cape Coast High Court in July 2021 nullified the election of Mr. Kwesin after it found he owed allegiance to Canada when he filed his nomination to contest as MP in 2020. Michael Ankuma Nimfa, a resident of the constituency who filed this election petition in January 2021, initiated another action at the Supreme Court. He urged the court to give effect to the Cape Coast High Court's judgment and prevent further a breach of the Constitution by restraining the MP from acting. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
The case is being heard by Justices Jones Doche, Agnes Doji, Nene Amegacha, Mariam Owusu, Gertrude Tokonu, Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, and Emmanuel Yoni-Kolendi. The court heard legal arguments from the Attorney General, Frank Davis, and Mr. Chachu Chikata. It bordered on whether or not injunction should be granted against the MP. Mr. Davis and the Attorney General took the view that by virtue of the Cape Coast High Court July 2021 decision, it meant that allowing the MP to perform parliamentary duties on any day amounts to a constitutional breach. Mr. Chikata, however, took exception to the procedure that had been used. He argued that by way of the rules of the Supreme Court, such an application for injunction is not permitted, and an individual seeking such a remedy must rather make a request to the Supreme Court asking that this is what it wants. Then the court will decide what steps that individual should take. And so that was the initial objection that he raised, and argued that on that basis the injunction application ought to be dismissed. The court, after hearing the legal arguments, adjourned to April 13 to deliver its ruling on the matter, and that will determine whether the MP can continue to perform parliamentary duties while various other applications which is filed in various courts remain outstanding. For Joy News from the Supreme Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
And here in the studio, my name is Ernest Mino with Joy News Prime. Still to come in the bulletin, we'll tell you about the GES and what it says it is doing about the placement this year. It says it's placed approximately 88% of JHS graduates in various second cycle institutions so far.
Overall, there were about 570,000 students that were to be placed, and as we speak now, about 505,000 of them have been placed.
We have more plus details of how government plans to revert to the old academic system and also eliminate the double track with a transitional calendar.
And that we've done, if we continue as it is now, then hopefully by 2024 we'll have all our schools going Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, as it has always been.
Details of this and more after the break. Don't go away. For staying with us. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, the Ghana Education Service says it's placed approximately 88.6% of students in various second cycle institutions so far. This comes amidst the frustration of scores of parents and children to secure placements. Many of them have thronged the National Resolution Center at the Nat Hall in the past few days, hoping to have their concerns resolved. Today was no exception. Michael Ashali was there, and here's what he found.
Okay. Apostle, how many days have you been going here?
Oh, just this morning.
Just this morning. Yes. Okay. What's the issue about?
My daughter hasn't get a school, so I'm coming for school for her. I'm looking for school.
So of the 6 schools, she was not given any of them?
No.
I mean, what have they given any reason for that?
No, they haven't given any reason. They collect all the forms, and they told us we should go. They will call us back after they finish.
Okay. So what schools did she choose?
Abri, Sectec, and Mansinai. Right now, they give us 3 schools for which to choose. So I'm expecting them to call us.
So which 3 schools did you choose?
Right now, no, we have chosen Abri, Sectec now again, and Mansinai and Kropon. Yeah.
But you didn't get it the first time. What was the assurance they are getting this time around?
I don't know, but I hope we will get it. Okay. They are working hardly. They are working hardly. So I hope that we will get it. In a few days, we will get.
But her colleague started school yesterday. They at least reported to school yesterday. Are you not worried about that?
My daughter is swollen. It nearly take a drug, killing herself. So I'm pleading for them to help me to get to school for my daughter. The daughter name is Ohinawa Princess Ohinawa Jaba. Okay. So please help me to get school for her.
I'd really love to meet her. Is she around here? She could come here. Let me speak to her briefly. Ohinawa, Daddy tells me that of your 6 schools, you did not get any of them. I mean, how did that make you feel when you checked? You didn't get any of the schools that you chose?
Oh, I was very sad. Yeah.
I mean, so to what extent? What were your expectations when you, after writing the BC, you saw a result? What were your expectations?
I thought I'll get my first choice or my second choice, but actually I didn't get none of them.
Some of your friends went to school yesterday, and you are still here. Don't even know your fate. How does that make you feel? Does it compound your sadness?
Yes.
Right now that you've come here, what are you hoping to get out of this?
Well, I hope I'll get a school, a better school. Yeah.
You know, the Ghana Education Service says more than 80% of students have been placed. Director General Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwah, however, says his outfit will consider a review of the system to improve it.
So far, it's been good, but we don't expect that we wouldn't have issues. We expect that we will continue to have issues, and it is just because we don't have enough space in each school that people subscribe, especially the schools that people subscribe a lot. We don't have enough space to take all the people who subscribe and duly qualify. So if you take a school like, let's say, Achimota, whilst we can take maybe 1,002 or thereabout, you may get about 6,000 people who subscribe to Achimota, maybe 2,000 of them duly qualified to go in there. So as far as you have that issue, every year, people will say, I didn't get my school, and I have been put here, I have been put there. That is why we continue to make a few changes here and there, do reviews. Ghanaians say we should do review. We do the reviews every day and every time. Every year when we finish our placement, we do the review. So every year we improve on it. This year, for example, we gave the students the opportunity to choose 6 schools. Last year, it was 5 schools. The year before, it was 4 schools. Some years, it was 3 schools. It's all a way of getting as many students as possible to go into the schools of their choices. Because people go to schools based on choices, you always have situations where people will come and complain or lament and then feel frustrated because they didn't get their choice. The other interesting thing about the choices is that they take 6 choices. But a lot of them is about their first or at worst, their second choice. If you don't get the first choice, then it means you didn't get anything. So we have situations where people will come to you and say, I didn't choose the school, but I've been put in there. But when you tell them to bring their placement form, you realize that they chose the school as a 4th choice or a 5th choice or a 6th choice. And for us, once it's your choice, it's one of your choices, it means if we put you there, you are willing to go. Overall, there were about 570,000 students that were to be placed. And as we speak now, about 505,000 of them have been placed. But those who have enrolled, I think is something about half of that number, because the enrollment has actually started with the school reopening. So as we go along, we'll get the update, and then we can always update the public. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Professor Amankwa has also been given details of how government is working to revert to the old academic system and eliminate double track with a transitional calendar. Now, this follows the announcement that the double track system has been abolished.
The double track system, as we speak now, it's not in place. What we have in place is what we call the transitional calendar. The double track that you and I know, that we have green going, gold staying home, etc., is not in place. What we have now is what we call the transitional calendar. Transitional, and in two senses. One, we are trying to bring back our academic year to the September-October start, and then the June-July completion. And we need to do that because all the countries around us, especially those who subscribe to the WAEC exams, the WASI, for example, have gone back immediately after the COVID to their September-October start, and then their June-July completion. So what it means is that if you take Nigeria, you take Sierra Leone, you take Liberia, you take Gambia, as we speak now, they are in they are running, I think they are basically running trimester, and they are in their second term, whilst here we are in our first semester and then in first term for our basic schools.
Now, government has, through the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, laid out plans to deal with the impact of illegal fishing activities on the country's waters. The Sector Minister, Mavis Harkumson, says government wants to intensify its patrol activities on the high seas to deal with the menace entirely. My colleague Samuel Kojobrace has more on the following report.
Ghana's fisheries sector serves as a source of employment for more than 3 million people.
The sector also supports government's effort to achieve food and nutrition security, with fish contributing 60% of the animal protein intake of Ghanaians.
The sector has been facing the challenge of illegal, unreported and unregulated IUU fishing for a long time, without success. Today, at the meeting of the Ministers of Fisheries and Aquaculture within the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States, AOCPS, the Sector Minister, Mavis Harkumson, laid down the new plan of government to tackle this.
The research vessel will ensure regular research on physical, chemical and biological characteristics of the marine waters and exploited fish stocks that will enhance data availability for science-based fisheries management strategies. Similarly, the acquisition of the 4 patrol boats would also enhance enforcement capacity to address the issue of overexploitation and overfishing, as well as curb the pervasive indecence of illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing.
But that may not be all. Another challenge that the country's fisheries sector must be worried about is the impact of climate change. The General Secretary of AOCPS, Christy Pratt, revealed that changes in climatic conditions are beginning to have a telling effect on the industry.
We know that climate change is acidifying our oceans, is warming our sea surface temperatures, is moving our fish, from where they normally used to be to other places on the planet. And so, one of the things, of course, that we have to think about in terms of the implications of climate change on fisheries is, again, what can we do about it?
So how effective will government's plan of procuring these vessels and boats help in dealing with IUU? Only time will tell. For Joy News, I am Samuel Kojo Brace.
Well, let's put that question to an expert, and joining us via Zoom to look at government's intention at policing our waters is a fisheries analyst, Che Yamwa, the programs manager for Friends of Nature and Natural Resources Management. Thank you very much for your time. What do you make of this move? Is it in the right direction and the one single act that will bring us the desired results?
Yes, it is in the right direction. We need to increase the capacity to enforce the fisheries laws. That requires that you need to ensure that the fisheries enforcement unit and the marine police have the necessary equipment, and then they can increase their surveillance capacity. So it is in the right direction. However, what could be intensified is what we call the beach combing and then the inspections at the beaches. Ghana has a lot of fish landing sites, so you would expect that over 200 fish landing sites. However, if we could promote community participation in monitoring and reporting of the illegalities that will take place on these areas, it will help.
Okay.
What it is that over 80% of fisheries infractions can be stopped on land, because you take the illegal gears from land to sea, and then the fish caught, you bring it back and you land it. So once we do these inspections effectively, we are able to control majority of the illegalities that takes place. So yes, a combination of these factors is very important.
Whilst this combination is good, how do we maximize the vessels just so that it doesn't serve a unilateral purpose?
Yes, already there are some surveillance activities where the Ghana Navy also, provide vessels in support. So I think that in combination, there are already some patrol vessels available with the marine police and others. So in combination, this is good. However, there is a school of thought that we also need to reduce the human element, introduce a lot of video evidence on fishing trawlers and others, so that any illegalities can be spot on and then dealt with in the appropriate manner. Then also, we need to ensure that the prosecution is dealt with, is very important. Indeed. When vessels are caught and are arrested, the prosecutorial system must ensure that there is the sanctions are deterrent enough, and then there is no window or door that any offender can run through. So we need to close and tighten the gaps in prosecution.
I'm grateful for your time. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Menu. We're taking a short break. When we're returning, we have more stories for you, plus the latest in showbiz. Please stay with us. Time now for showbiz, and IB's here. He has the very latest. Good evening, my brother. How are you?
Good evening, Ernest. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
I don't know if you've been privy to the conversation about the younger generation who have lost all the cultural values and even the Kokwanansi stories.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. I don't remember all of the Kokwanansi stories.
Whoa, so I have one in the studio.
But, no. I don't remember all of them because it's been a while. I think we don't tell them very often.
Okay.
But yes, I enjoyed a lot of Kokwanansi stories growing up, watching by the fireside.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're mentioning it because
I'm not at 2000.
There's a school of thought that believe that by the fireside should be brought back on TV so that at least it will whip up some cultural values and all these stories into the younger generation. But Judge Quay, who is an actor and an actor on stage, both on stage and on the silver screen, is saying that we shouldn't actually think that things we used to do back then could be the same things we're doing. We should rather make sure that we are aligning with what used to be our past, and then we progress with it.
Theatre is dynamic. Art is dynamic. You'd be silly to think that what we used to do 100 years ago, we should be doing it the same. No, it is wrong. We can tell the By the First Side story differently. The other time on Showbiz A to Z, I asked a question. Why do our kids today know America's Spider-Man but do not know our own Kweku Anansi? Because we grew and left the story behind. But that is not theatre. Theatre is supposed to evolve. So yes, what you may see as our culture is still here with us. It is still expressive through our theatrical performances, our drama, and it is there. Just that it's taking a different form, a different shape. Our dances evolve. Azonto came and went. And when you look at the elements of Azonto, it's just like you're dancing Panlogo. So it is just our culture that keeps evolving. And it takes a deep thinker to understand and appreciate some of these things and realize that we haven't lost our way. We just need to align with what our past used to be. That's all. And then we'll be good.
Okay. We haven't actually lost our way. We just need to align with how our past used to be and forge on. Well, there's also the talk about, well, you did theatre, right? You have experienced a little bit of theatre.
Yes, I've done theatre before, but not studied in school.
You know, I know you didn't study in school, but you've been on the stage. And I don't know if you've been studying the trend of how the interest has dwindled. Before, it used to be very vibrant. People used to love it. But now it's taken a little bit of a nosedive.
Yes, sort of. But thanks to Uncle Ebo and
Latif Abubakar.
Latif, my Latif. I think they're doing quite a good job in whipping up the interest.
But Fred Amogi, veteran actor, believes that for theatre, the interest to be put back into the society, he believes that institutions should back and put support to theatre so that the general populace will have that interest again.
What is there to be done to whip back the interest of theatre back then as it used to?
Institutions must back theatre. I'm telling you, when we talk of entertainment, theatre is one of the best. If you pick two, entertainment is one. If you theatre is one. If you pick one, entertainment is one. I'm telling you, because somebody who is in a sorrowful mood suddenly becomes excited watching a play. Somebody who is overexcited suddenly reminds himself that, look, life is not easy, because there's some tragedy in even the comedy he's performing or he's watching being performed. And such is life. Life is not all about comedy. It's not all about tragedy. But, I smile today, I frown tomorrow. I laugh today, the next minute I'll be crying. Because such is life.
It's always refreshing to hear from Fred Amogi and all the old guys.
Old guys. Yeah. Well, it looks like theatre, music, and culture is playing a great role in making sure that there's a relationship between Ghana and Spain. So the Spanish ambassador, Javier Gutierrez, says it has become his mandate ever since he took office that he will see to it that the Ghana-Spain relationship is being fostered well through our culture, music, and theatre.
I see you want to have a lot of collaborations with India. Why?
Because we want, through culture, through theater, through music, we want to get both the Spanish people and the Ghanaian people closer, our respective civil societies closer, and that's why we really want to partner with different cultural institutions, different actors of the industry. And for me, I must say, it's one of the things I like the most about my job here in Ghana.
And that, as all time, is going to permit us here on Showbiz on Prime.
Ivy, thank you very much for bringing us the latest. And that's how we end the show. Many thanks for your company. Please log on to myjournline.com and find more stories there. My name is Ernest Mino. Up next is Prime Business with Charles Aite.